It's interesting you said that phrase, comfortable in the gray. And I think of the business owners out there, and I feel like they live in the gray. Very few times are things just black and white, and the decisions are super easy. There's emotions, there's real people involved. How do you live comfortably in the gray, but also have those processes and those fundamentals that you talk about in place? Is that what allows you to make those decisions?
This is not something that Harvard Business School is going to teach. But I like the reason why I think it's people are really, it's going to really resonate is because it just makes sense. So it's fundamental ways you build your team, the fundamental ways you train your team, how you believe in each other. So ultimately, when those times are tough, you have the confidence to make the decision. Now you're not always going to be right. That's okay, but you're not going to be paralyzed. And again, when I say it's the happy place, you want to be the one when the times are tough. You raise your hand, you say, "Send me." I mean, I know that sounds dramatic. I was, in New York when 9/11 occurred. I will never forget watching firefighters and police officers run up this, run into the World Trade Center. That to me, as I geek out on leadership all the time, that was an extraordinary moment. You want to be that person. That's a little dramatic, but you want to be that person when times are tough. You're okay. Now, it doesn't mean you're happy about it. I talked to an entrepreneur recently, and after he read my book, and he said, you know what, high pressure situation, was for me. It was I couldn't make payroll. And I said, when? The next day, the next week? He said, no, 3 hours. I had 3 hours to make payroll. I had a whole company looking at me. And so he got it. And so that's why that's why I love talking about this book, because it doesn't have to be the world of special operations and intelligence. It can resonate, through the private sector, especially with small business owners. And what about now, as we're coming out of, or still in, the pandemic, when there was so much uncertainty?
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Marc.
Sure.
And the book is about crisis. And when I think about crisis, it's something that can feel hard to plan for. It feels like a crisis is something unexpected. Is it possible to plan for the next crisis as a business owner? Are there things you can do to put in place, or is it just, hey, you just got to be ready to react when it comes?
Well, I think there's a couple things. First of all, you have to be prepared to react. And I think about my times. Now, I worked in the Middle East, and so there's always some kind of upheaval in many of the countries where I was living and working. But I remember one specific time where there was some instability. We were getting a little worried about the terrorist threat. So in a U.S. government facility where I was the deputy station chief, we almost rigged the place, not for battle, but for something bad to happen. So everyone had things called go bags. There was, we had weapons in the office just in case. We had MREs, we had meals in case we had to hunker down in this place. I remember some of my colleagues from other U.S. government agencies coming to the office, and they said, what is this, the Alamo here? And what happened, 2 months later, the embassy, the U.S. government facility was attacked. There was an Al-Qaeda attack. We almost died there. We didn't, but we had prepared so well. And it was because the station chief and I, and this was in a Middle Eastern country, several years earlier, had been in Iraq together. And so we kind of had that same kind of mentality about preparation. But fundamentally to your question, and it goes, I know we're talking about the book a lot, it goes to my principles. It's, you can withstand a crisis if you have a good team, if they're well trained, if they believe in each other. There's one of my principles is family values. I talk about kind of having love and empathy for your employees and your peers and even your bosses. But so there's fundamental things you can do, how you train and mentor your people. So when there is a crisis, you are so much more well prepared to react.